Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me for another tutorial. I'm Erin Eno, and today we're going to be painting this cute little sweet pea plant. If you do like this tutorial and you just want to see more like it, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to know when I have new tutorials out. So let's just grab our paints and get started. So for today's painting, I am using my Baohong Academy cold press watercolor paper. It's 140 pound, 100% cotton. I've just got a sheet roughly 5 by 7.5. We're just doing a little painting today. I have my Royal Talons Van Gogh paints in my palette, a jar of water, and a paper towel. And I'm just gonna throw my paper towel there. And for brushes, I have all small brushes because our painting's quite small. I've got Princeton Snap rounds in a size 4, 2, and 0. I'm going to start with the 4, but I'm not sure. It might be a little big. So first things first, when I decided to paint a sweet pea, because I thought they were really kind of cute, pretty flowers, I looked up pictures on the internet, and to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was looking at. Like, the petals are crazy. They're twisty, they're turny, I didn't know where one flower started and the other one ended. So I wanted to look into actually just one flower and what it's composed of. So I'm just going to do a little drawing on my iPad for you because I just thought to understand the structure of it will help it be a little easier to paint different angles and different perspectives. So we'll just go through that first quickly, and I just did them rough. They're not fantastic drawings by any means, and then we'll start painting. So when the flower starts, it starts out as almost like a pod, like that, okay? And then that pod, whoops, let me get rid of that. Then that pod starts to open up, okay? Like that. So that's the inside. So a lot of people think, I shouldn't say a lot, I think some people interpret the sweet pea as having 2 main petals at the back. It's actually this one petal, because once it opens up, you get this crease down the middle, okay? Now, I also want to point out that there's a lot of different kinds of sweet peas. Some have ruffled edges, some have smooth edges. We're just going to work on the ruffled edges. So that opens up into this kind of shape here, okay? And then once it opens up, it exposes 2 other petals. They're kind of enclosed. Okay, just like that, and you'd have some sepals. You'd have sepals here too, obviously. Okay. So these are kind of encasing 2 more petals. So the sweet pea consists of 5 petals. 1 is this main one here. 2, 3 is here. And then inside are another 2 petals. So once this opens up completely, let's just do a nice big petal, and then the 2 petals from the inside, just like that. And then what's inside is something that they call the keel, okay? And that apparently encloses the stamens and stuff. So that's what it looks like. That looks a little wonky. I'm just gonna make this a little more sweet pea-like. There we go. Okay, so this is called the banner petal. That's that main petal. These are called wing petals. This guy and this guy, and this is called the keel. Okay, and the keel is actually 2 petals that are kind of fused together. So enough of the scientific jibber jabber. So if you were to paint this, let's say you've got your main back petal like that, Okay, and then you've got your other two that come out of it. You can make those nice and fluffy. So this line would be gone. And then you'd have another petal here. Okay, and this line would be gone because it's in front of it. And then you could have your little kind of keel if you want. And then you might see some of the little sepals coming down, and your stem would be like that. So if you were to do one from the side, kind of the side back, you'd have your main petal. Okay, and then your other petals, which have come out, might be like that. And again, you'd see some sepals, maybe a bit of that stem, just like that. You could also do a back view, which would be kind of straight-ish, okay? Then you'd have that petal like that, because you have to picture that that has opened up and we're now looking at the back of it, okay? And then your stem would be coming out like that, and you wouldn't see much else. You could, you know, then start adding those two petals at the back. Maybe you just only see one of them, but that just gives you an idea of how they kind of look and how they open up. So let's say we do one from the side that's still not quite open. Okay, so you might see that, and you might see the other side of it. And then you also might see those other petals just starting to poke through. Okay, so you're going to see lots of different crazy angles that you can do with the sweet pea. So let's just start painting and just keep some of these perspectives in mind. Okay, so now that we have the basics of the flower petals and some different perspectives to go on, we'll start painting our sweet pea flower heads. And I'm just going to use rose here. I'm just going to do a light pink little branch of sweet peas. Okay, and like I say, I'm not sure if this brush is a little big, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm just doing semi-loose. Okay, so those drawings that I did are just so I have different perspectives in my head, and I can just do the petals to imply those different perspectives. So I'm just going to start with the wavy petal up here, just like that. That may be a little too much. I want it to fade off and just be a little darker just towards the outer edge. So I'm just going to pick a little bit of this up. Just like that. So I'm going to treat this as one main petal, and then we'll do the petals that are in front of it. Okay, and I'm just going to leave a little bit of white space there between these two petals. So now I'm just going to do the other petal that would be in front of that one. And I'm just going to drag this down because I just want the ends of them to be a little deeper. Just like that. And then we'll go and we'll put another one over here. And once this dries, I'm going to go back in and put some more depth in there just to kind of separate those petals. And these petals do fade into a bit of a green. So I'm going to take my olive green and just get a very light wash of that. And just kind of tap it here and draw down where that stem is going to just start to branch off. And I'm just going to rinse and draw off my brush Just kind of push this into the pink a bit, just like that. So that's one little sweet pea down. We will go back to that just to kind of differentiate those petals a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do this. Just going to slightly push that lighter pigment down, just like that. Then we'll do one that is more of a little side view. And do it maybe over here. That's a little pale. I'm going to rinse and dry off my brush and just kind of drag this out a bit just so it fades off. So you don't have to fuss too much with these shapes. And then we'll do another petal that's a little heavy. This could be the other side of that fold in the petal that I kind of showed you in my drawings. Just give it this wavy edge. Just like that. And again, a little bit of that green, not too much. And I'm just going to rinse and dry off my brush and drag this down a bit. Then maybe we'll do the side of a petal, like so. And then we'll have a bigger petal coming out of the middle. Again, I'll leave a little bit of white space between them and rinse and dry off my brush and just kind of drag this down. So that could be a petal coming out of the middle, and then I will do a petal coming out of the back. Like this will be the back of that main petal. I'm trying not to think about, you know, those drawings I did too much because I don't want to be kind of restricted here into really trying to make these look like realistic sweet peas, but I want them to at least be recognizable as sweet peas. This one again, I'll do a little bit of green at the end because as the sweet pea kind of fades out, they do kind of pick up some of that green from the stem. Then we'll do one, let's do one that's like kind of from the back. So it's kind of flat. And then the stem would come out of here. And it would kind of have this line coming down where that crease is. Like that, and I'm just going to blend that out. I probably shouldn't have done it so dark at the bottom, but that's okay. So I'm just going to soften that up. Get that little line back in there. We're going to go back in and add some shading to this and just make those petals pop a little more. And then I think we'll do So I'm just going to put one more petal just coming out of there. And I'm going to rinse and dry off my brush and just kind of blend that out. Now the first petal's still a little wet, so I don't want to go into it too much. Now I think we'll do one head on. So I'm going to do like that little, whoops, it's actually white, that little kind of keel piece, kind of like a greeny white. So I'm going to just kind of paint that in as a bit of a curve. Don't want a lot of water there. I should be using my smaller brush, I guess. It's very pale. I don't even know if you can see it. Then around that, we're going to do that little wing. Whoops. So I'm just trying to get that little kind of keel petal there. Okay, and I want it to be a little darker than the rest of the petals, maybe not this dark. Just going to pick some of it up. Okay, and then around that I'm going to do 2 wing petals. I'm just going to blend that in. So my brush is clean, it's just damp with the water. Okay. Then the petals on the very outside, I'm going to go just big and wavy. I might be a little pale. And come all the way down to there. Remember, this is the one that's kind of looks like 2 petals, but it's actually not. And I'm just going to blend that out with a damp brush. And then because the stem is kind of tucked back there, we're not going to see a lot of that, so we're not going to put that in. Okay, I kind of goofed here because this stem is coming out of this direction, and I don't know quite how to attach that to the main stem. So I'm going to see if I can pick this up, this green. If I can't pick it up, I'm going to go over it with a little bit of pink, just to kind of make that not green, because that's not going to work. If I try to put the stem there, it's not going to look right. So I'm just going to put some pink around the edge like that. Then I'm just going to blend that in. And I'm going to keep an edge about here, because that will kind of differentiate from this other petal over there. Just going to pick some of that up. It's all good because these petals do kind of go crazy and curly. So now that this is dry, I can go back in and put a little bit more tone in that leaf petal, I mean, right there. And a little bit more tone on this edge. And blend that. So I can kind of look at that as this being the main kind of petal and this being another one coming through, so the stem can come out from there. So no big deal, it's saved. I'm going to add a little bit more tone to this kind of keel portion. just like that. Then we can go back to these other guys that are dried and add a little bit more to these outer edges of the petals. Okay, so I'm not putting down a whole lot of pigment and not a whole lot of water. So I'm just putting along the edge and then going in with a damp brush and just blending it in to soften those edges, just like that. So I'm just going to do this next part as a voiceover because I just want to speed it up. It's somewhat repetitive because I'm just going around the edges of most, if not all, of the petals and just adding a little more tone. And every time I do that, I clean off my brush, tap it off my paper towel, and just go in with a damp brush and just blend that extra pigment out just so it stays soft. But basically this is just defining the petals from one another a little more. I want to keep it as soft as I can, but I definitely do want those petals defined wherever possible, okay? Even though the sweet pea has crazy petals, I just still wanted to kind of show that. This gives it some depth and some movement and some definition. On this one here, I just felt it was lacking a little, so I added another petal off to the left. Again, because the sweet pea is so, you know, crazy and wonky with its petals, you can do that when you feel that something is lacking. Now we can move on to the sepals. And for the sepals, I want to have a lot of control over those, so I'm just going to go to a smaller brush. I'm going to go to my size 0, and I'm just going to use that olive green again. Okay, but a lot stronger pigment, and we'll just paint these little sepals on it. If I remember what I read, I think it said they all have like 5, but I'm not going to hold myself to that. That's not the end of the world if we do too many sepals. You also have to kind of think of where your stem is going to be, your main stem. Okay. Now this one, we may just see a few sepals peeking out from the very bottom, but not a lot. And this one, I'm just going to treat it as the stem is coming out from, no, actually, you know what? I wanted to do one more that was kind of at the side and not quite fully bloomed. So I've grabbed my wrong brush. So I want to do one that's just partially bloomed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to give me like 6 flowers, which isn't like my ideal scenario, but that's okay. I'll get over it. So we've got that petal that's kind of opening. So it'll just be kind of small. Like that. Blend this all in towards the center, kind of fading out to nothing. Then we'll go in and we'll do kind of those 2 keel petals that haven't quite bloomed. Just put a little highlight on there. And then this one I will go in with that green and have it bleed into there a bit. Okay, and the sepal can be still partially closed because this isn't quite bloomed. Just like that. Okay, that's 6 flowers. That's not great. I like odd numbers, but that's okay. We'll fill it in with the stem. So I think we'll do some sepals on this guy here. And that will come down and you won't really see. Okay, so now we're going to draw in the stem, and this would be our topmost flower. This one would be coming off of it. I may end up throwing another flower in there just so it's not an even number. So you can see where our main stem is going, right up here, okay? And these other guys are branching off from that. And I'm going to leave it as 6 flowers. I'm going to let my OCD suffer a little bit, and I'm not going to cave into it. So now what I want to do is the last little bit, which is just some little kind of curly, little viney spiral. I don't need a lot of these, just enough to kind of make it kind of vine-like. So these can be all curvy. I didn't quite want it that thick. I'm just going to leave it light like that rather than try to make it narrow, because I will screw it up. And I'm going to do one that's kind of corkscrew shape. So I think I'm just not happy with one little thing, and I think I just want to add a little bit more green to the base of some of these petals, just to make them look a little more natural. Right now they're just too, well, pink, frankly. Okay, so I'm just going over the base with, whoop, that was a little much, with just a light kind of wash of green, just to give it that kind of more realistic transition into the petal. Just like that. Could probably afford to do some of it here as well. Okay, it just gives it some life. This one maybe just on the outer guys. And that's it. And there you go. There are our finished sweet peas. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you found it helpful, and I really hope you'll give it a try. I want to thank you so much for stopping by and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.